First, let's compare what you get with the MioMat versus a Tayama soy milk maker. They both come with an instruction guide. As you're flipping through the instruction guide, you will notice that MioMat's instruction guide is more colorful and has more recipes and pictures of how to use the MioMat when you compare it to the Tayama's instruction guide, which is just in black and white and a very few amount of recipes. Both of them come with a strainer, which you will need. The Tayama strainer is wider and shallower and made of only metal, while the MioMat strainer is narrower, deeper, and has a plastic holder. After using them both, I appreciate the deeper strainer as it makes it easier to hold more of the liquid that you will need to strain. Both also come with this cup to measure out the amount of beans you are going to use. I decided to see how similar they were in volume, so with this water you can see that the MioMat holds slightly larger amount of beans, but it will be hardly noticeable in practicality. The recipes in both manuals explain how much beans or other solid foods to add with their measuring cups. Let's take a look at the grinders. The MioMat grinder comes with this cover that must be used in many recipes. As we take a look at the lids though, you can see that both are very similar in that they both have a heating element, a grinder, and the electronics are held in the lid, which makes it so that you cannot soak the lids in water. Now that we've compared the models, let's cook some soy milk to see how the two compare in creating that homemade plant-based milk. The procedure for making soy milk for both of them are pretty much the same. You take the beans and soak them for at least 8 hours. But for the Tayama, it does have the option of using dry beans that haven't been soaked. We have tried to use that method, but when you use the dry beans, it is far inferior to the soaked recipe. It's very much more gritty. So I don't try it with dry beans anymore. After soaking the beans, drain off the water and then rinse the beans before pouring them into the bowl. Then you want to add water between the fill lines. For this Tayama, you can fill it between 900 and 1100 milliliters, whereas the MioMat needs to be filled between 1100 milliliters and 1300 milliliters. A later model of the Tayama also has the same capacity of the MioMat, but the one that we have right now is a little older and it has a smaller capacity. Now we plug in the machines. We place the lid on, and for the Tayama, we will press the soaked bean button, and for the MioMat, we'll use the soybean button. Now just sit back and relax and let the machines do all the work. The Tayama turns the blade almost right away for a bit. Let's hear what it sounds like. After the first spin, the Tayama begins to heat up the bean mixture. The MioMat doesn't spin the blade to start with, and it just begins to heat up the beans in the water for a long time, up to like 10 to 15 minutes before it starts spinning. Sound-wise, both machines sound about the same in terms of their loudness. Have a listen. After about 25 minutes, the Tayama has finished making its milk and it begins to beep. Their beeping is quite loud. After only about 10 more minutes, so a total of 35 minutes, MioMat finishes and begins its beeping to let you know it's done. After opening the lids, I checked the temperature for each of the milks, and both registered about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, so no real difference there. Both machines advise washing the lid right after you take them out, and I can confirm that this is a great idea. After using these machines many times, if you don't watch the motor right away, the food particles left over will dry up and stick to the machine, making it much more difficult to wash later. So once you take out the motor lid, make sure to clean them. Now that the lids are clean, it's time to look at the milk. You can see the difference. The MioMat soy milk looks more frothy, while the soy milk for the Tayama looks a little more bubbly. Alright, it's time to get these ready to drink, so we need to strain them out. To test the machines and their milks properly, I made sure to use the strainers that came with each for this round. Later, I switched the strainers, and honestly, both of the strainers performed the same, and it didn't make a difference in the strained product in the end. It was much easier to strain the MioMat's milk since it has much less okara left over. Just look at the comparison. The Tayama has lots more okara after straining, and naturally the MioMat has much more soy milk than the Tayama when done. Not just because of the larger amount of water being used, but also because there is less okara. Once you finish pouring out the milks, it is very important to rinse and fill the bases with water, so that the leftover particles don't stick to the sides and make cleaning much more difficult. With the MioMat's larger size and thinner strainer, it will fit inside the basin, whereas the Tayama's strainer does not fit. I prefer the strainer to fit inside as it makes it easier to clean with the basin. And now for the taste test. I was planning to use the same style of bowl so that I wouldn't know which is which. But after looking at the bowls of soy milk, I could easily tell the difference which one is which, so I had my wife blindfold me and give me each of the bowls in turn so that I could taste them without knowing which is which for a nice blind taste test.
Very good. Very creamy, very silky, very smooth. It's good soy milk. Nice and homemade, fresh tasting. Very good. This one. I think I know which one's which. Oh, there is definitely a difference. No taste difference, really. It's just a difference in texture. So this one is a little more watery. It's just like soy milk. I think like the soy milk you would take out of a carton that you'd get in any Chinese restaurant where you have like the soy milk. It's really reminiscent of what you'd get from those kinds of restaurants. Whereas, the other one again? All right, let me try this one again just to make sure. Yeah. So this one is definitely smooth. I guess I'd call it smooth. It's more like smoother, like a smoothie almost, like kind of a thicker soy milk. So I'd certainly probably guess this is from Tayama, and this is from the MioMat. Because it just has a different texture. I've had a Tayama a lot, so I kind of know what it tastes like, know what it feels like, and it's a good soy milk. And this one it's a very good soy milk too. They're both really good. You know, if you go for a taste, you're not going to have much difference. Am I correct?
You're totally wrong.
Totally wrong. Now that I see them, yeah, I can see that I'm wrong.
When I tried the mass refrigeration, the MioMat milk was still liquidy like it was when it was hot, while the Tayama Soy milk took on a little more grainy texture. So if you're planning to make and refrigerate your plant-based milk, I would just go with the MioMat, as I prefer the much smoother liquidiness than the Tayama's grainy feel. But if you're planning to drink your soy milk hot, they have approximately the same taste. It's just the Tayama has a more smoothie-like texture, and the MioMat has a more liquid-like texture, with giving you more soy milk to drink in the MioMat than you do in the Tayama with the same amount of beans. My guess is that the beans are ground finer in the MioMat, thus making it more liquidy. If you're thinking in terms of versatility, the MioMat has many more recipes so that you can make smoothies, soups, and other plant-based milks besides soy milk. So it's more than just a soy milk maker, which is how the Tayama is marketed. And if price is an issue for you, you should know that at the time of this recording, the Tayama usually runs about $70, while the MioMat runs at about $180. Want to see what else you can make with the MioMat? Follow the link right here.